Seeing an opossum near the dumpsters will hardly surprise you. But when you stumble across a dead deer and the opossum looking at you from the inside, it's one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. What the hell is an opossum doing inside a deer? Apparently the reason lies in the opossum diet, because these animals are omnivores and carrion is also on their menu. A whole deer carcass is like a smorgasbord for them. Also, the deer is a large animal and will sustain the opossum for a long time. Moreover, opossums need a lot of calcium, so even animal bones are used as food. Perhaps this guy climbed inside the deer to get to the bones. Wait a minute. If opossums love carrion, can they probably dig up someone's grave? I mean, a human one? The good news is that opossums will hardly spend so much time and effort to dig a human from under the ground. The bad news is that there are bigger, more determined animals out there willing to do this. Badgers. Badgers stop at nothing when they want to dig, and they pull out the bones of the dead from underground, even in working cemeteries. Luckily, badgers don't eat human corpses. Well, I think so. But they dig holes and tunnels in the territory of cemeteries, and people can do nothing about it. In the UK, badgers are protected by law. Killing them is a criminal offense, so these animals feel quite comfortable at the cemetery. Moreover, it's located near their permanent habitat, so apparently badgers consider human graves as their own backyard. But if badgers don't seem to be particularly interested in bones, groundhogs are a completely different matter. In Montreal, they dig up graves in the same way and leave bones scattered across the surface. Bones are often found next to groundhog burrows, along with metal handles and coffin decorations. That is, the animals don't just dig all this stuff out of the ground, they bring it home. But not because groundhogs are members of some secret cult. Their teeth never stop growing, which means they need to gnaw something all the time to grind them down, something like trees. But human bones will do too. Of course, people are usually not happy about the fact that someone rummages through cemeteries and takes out the remains of their long-dead relatives, but sometimes the badger's digging urge leads to unexpected results. In Germany, two sculptors noticed a badger digging a den also uncovered a pelvic bone. It didn't happen at the cemetery, so the people became alert, lowered the camera into the den and took a few pictures, and then contacted the authorities. And they did the right thing. The animal accidentally dug out a 12th century burial ground where 8 people lay, and 2 of them were apparently some kind of warlords. Together with the remains, they found various items from the same era: weapons, accessories, even a large bronze bowl. In short, the archaeologists were delighted. But the badgers? Hardly so. Monkeys are a different story. In Brazil, one such primate armed itself with a machete and terrorized the locals for almost a week. You have to admit, it's really scary. A monkey with a bladed weapon, which, moreover, sharpened it against the wall, as if it knew exactly what it was going to do next. People were afraid to leave doors and windows open, and the animal managed to damage several roofs. But the most interesting thing is that this is not even the only case like that. Monkeys sometimes steal knives from people for no apparent reason. In the British Knowsley Safari Park, a whole gang of baboons was spotted armed with knives, screwdrivers, and even a chainsaw. According to one theory, it was park visitors who handed dangerous objects to animals for entertainment to see how armed primates attack cars. According to another theory, the baboons themselves stole away the tools and everything that could be used as a weapon. Well, the story about the baboon with the chainsaw sounds so incredible that the representatives of the park officials stated all this is an exaggeration, an urban myth, and there's no reason to be afraid. Though I wouldn't be too surprised to find out baboons made them say this under threats. Well, what are you going to do with such an animal? Even inside the car, you won't be 100% safe. Some of the Knowsley Safari Park visitors said the baboons tore the registration plate off the car. And how do you like the story about 20,000 bees that hounded the car for 2 whole days? Primates have nothing to do with that, although the story also happened in the UK. Carol Howarth, the owner of the car, simply went out to get groceries, and when she got back, she found that a swarm of bees had covered her car. This scene would make anyone panic. But Carol did the right thing. She contacted the Beekeepers Association. They soon removed the bees from the car and loaded them into a box. It had seemed that the story's over, happy ending and all that. But the bees were back the next day and stuck to the car again. Carol called the beekeepers one more time. They removed the bees again. And only then it turned out that the queen bee had been locked inside the car all this time. Her swarm rushed to help, which is why the bees were so persistent. Sounds like some weird horror movie. But is this the only story like that? No. Sometimes bees love cars too much. In 2021, a man from New Mexico also went grocery shopping, but left the window down. And when he returned, he found that a swarm of bees had taken over his back seat. Moreover, the man noticed this only when he began to drive away from the parking lot. Can you imagine that? You decide to go get some milk, got back from the store, get into the car, turn around to start backing up and see bees behind you. Of course, the man was scared. He called 911 and watched the work of rescuers from a very long distance. The whole swarm weighed about 3.5 pounds and consisted of about 15,000 bees. It was safely removed and carried to a new location. In fact, there's a simple reason behind this behavior of bees. From time to time, the hive split up, and some of the bees, along with the queen bee, go in search of a new home. During this period, they're ready to settle anywhere until the scout bees find a better place. So all these cars with open windows are like motels for bees. Perhaps the car owners could have waited a bit for the swarm to leave, but 15,000 damn bees in the back seat. And you know what's even worse? An ant colony living in the human ear. A 12-year-old Indian girl, Shreya Darji, had over 1,000 ants in her ears. How'd they get there? No idea. It all started with an irritation, and when the doctors looked into the girl's ear, they found its cause. It was real, live ants. Every day, about 10 ants crawled out of the girl's ears and scared everyone around. To get rid of insects, the doctors tried a bunch of remedies, and in the end, the ants disappeared as mysteriously as they appeared. And yes, Steve and I also found this story strange and not very credible, but it made headlines all over the world, and who are we not to believe the world news? Hannah Bourne Taylor had a slightly different experience. One day, during a severe thunderstorm, she found a bronze-winged mannequin finch that fell out of the nest. Its nest was blown away by the wind, and the chick was too small to survive on its own, so Hannah decided to take care of the chick. And they became so inseparable that the little bird was building nests in her hair. Literally, it did it every day, using strands to feel comfortable and protected inside. 84 days later, when the chick grew up, Hannah released it into the wild. But this is a story about friendship, not about ants in your ears. This could really become a new phobia for some. Mainly because it's not clear how and why the ants crawled into the girl's ears. Sorry, I'm still not over this. Elephants are more straightforward. You should never anger or harm them in any way because they're smart enough to be very vindictive. In India, an elderly woman encountered a herd of elephants and one of the animals attacked her. And when a person is attacked by an elephant, you know there's practically no chance to survive. The woman died. And when her family was holding a funeral ceremony, a herd of elephants burst into the village. They disrupted the funeral, caused the residents to flee in panic, destroyed the house of the deceased, and then just left. It's completely unclear why the elephants suddenly went berserk and why they felt so much hatred for one particular elderly woman. But I came across one theory that would explain a lot. This woman could work together with poachers and, for example, be present when they killed a baby elephant from this herd. And elephants, yes, they're damn vindictive. And easily offended, too. In 1823, the traveler Gordon Forbes Davidson was vacationing in the Sultan's Palace on the island of Java with his friends. Davidson and his company amused themselves by giving the elephants fruits and other treats. However, one of his friends teased the elephant for a while, offering him a plantain and then withdrawing it just as the poor animal was about to get a hold of the fruit with its trunk. When the friends were already leaving, the keeper of this elephant arrived with 2 coconuts, and suddenly the elephant grabbed one of them and threw it at that gentleman who teased him. Fortunately, the projectile missed the target. Otherwise, it'd have been a fatal shot. In general, don't tease elephants. Not worth it. Okay, let's talk about something more harmless and not as cruel. Like white-bellied sea eagles. Beautiful, majestic birds that torture flying foxes? Steve, what's wrong with this script? All right. In 2017 in Malaysia, researchers suddenly saw how a white-bellied sea eagle plucked a flying fox out of the tree, scaring away the bat colony, carried it to the sea, and dropped it into the water far away from the coast. The flying fox swam towards the land. And if you've seen flying foxes, you know they aren't particularly good at swimming. And when the poor animal was almost there, the eagle again picked his prey up and again threw it into the sea. The flying fox again still got to the shore, apparently completely exhausted. It's unclear whether the unfortunate animal was eventually killed by the birds. However, this behavior of an eagle doesn't necessarily mean it's silly or anything like that. It may be a hunting strategy. Flying foxes are dangerous prey, and they are comparatively large, strong animals with powerful jaws full of sharp teeth. But if you wear down such an enemy, it'll be much easier to eat it. Apparently, throwing flying foxes into the water is the optimal strategy. But these birds actually act weird sometimes. Take at least the courtship ritual of bald eagles. They rise high into the air, lock their talons, and tumble down, something like an invitation to a dance. Only each of the partners must be really good at that. It looks pretty graceful, and the lovers let go only when they're close to the ground. And it's a good thing if they handle it. Their mating dance is always a risk that can kill both birds. You either get a partner and get to procreate, or crash to the ground. The eagles that didn't let go in time can simply crash to death. But this is in the worst-case scenario. Usually the eagles just land somewhere in the branches of a tree, in a bush, on the grass, and struggle there until they're free. Sometimes they manage on their own, sometimes people come to the rescue. The main problem is their muscles. It's much easier for the eagles to grab something with their talons than to let it go later. Oh, and by the way, it's not just beloved bald eagles who do the death spiral. Territorial clashes between males happen about the same way. That doesn't look elegant, but the pattern is roughly the same. I wonder if the eagles can forget why exactly they began to tumble in the air. See you later.